welcome back to Daddy. Well, how are you doing today, guys? Are you in a good condition? Well, hopefully all of you are in a good condition today. As usual, before we talk about our topic today, let's first review about our previous topic. So yesterday we have talked about invitation. Invitation means undangan. Jadi dalam bahasa Indonesia, invitation itu adalah undangan. So we usually invite others to come to our house because of some occasion. Jadi kita biasanya mengundang teman kita buat datang ke rumah karena ada beberapa occasion atau event, acara. So let's see how we make conversation. Okay, so to make conversation, you can say, would you come to blah blah blah? Would you come to blah blah blah? Maukah kamu datang ke, would you come to my wedding party? Apakah kamu mau datang ke pesta pernikahanku? Would you come to my graduation ceremony? Apakah kamu mau datang ke pesta kelulusanku? So that is how you use would you like to. Would you come to, sorry. Next one we have could you come to. Could you come to. So this one is the same as the previous one. Would and could. But this one, could you come to my birthday party? It means, bisakah kamu datang ke pesta ulang tahunku? Next one we have, would you care to come to? Would you care to come to? Apakah kamu bisa datang ke titik-titik? And next, you can also say, why don't you come to? Why don't you come to? Kenapa kamu nggak datang ke titik-titik? And then you can fill the occasion on the blank. Jadi kalian bisa masukin occasionnya apa di titik-titiknya. Next, how do we respond to an invitation from someone? Jadi gimana sih kita merespon ke undangan seseorang? Well, we have two option, either accepting it or declining it. Jadi kita punya dua opsi, entah mau diterima, accepting, or we can decline it too. Kita juga bisa decline, tolak. So how to accept an invitation? Gimana caranya menerima undangan? Well, you guys can say, that's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Kamu baik sekali. Next, you can also say, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me. Terima kasih telah mengundang saya. And the last, you can also say, I'd love to come. I'd love to come. Dengan senang hati, aku akan datang. Next, we have declining. Selanjutnya kita punya declining atau menolak undangan seseorang. So, the first one you can say, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. Aku minta maaf, tapi aku nggak bisa. So, you decline the invitation politely. Jadi kalian menolak undangannya secara polite, secara sopan. Next, you have, I'm afraid I can't make it. I'm afraid I can't make it. Aku khawatir aku nggak bisa datang. And the last one, you can also say, thanks for asking me, but terima kasih udah ngajak aku, tapi titik-titik. So here you can fill your reason of why you cannot come. Jadi kalian bisa tulis atau katakan alasan kalian nggak bisa datang setelah kata but. So that is a little review about our previous topic. Jadi itu sedikit review mengenai topik kita sekarang, topik kita kemarin. Now, let's move to our topic today. Sekarang mari kita masuk ke topik kita hari ini. So I want you to pay attention to your screen. Jadi Miss mau kalian untuk perhatikan screen kalian. I will share a PowerPoint. Jadi Miss akan share PowerPoint-nya. Okay, so today's topic gonna be, jadi topik kita hari ini adalah suggestion and instruction. Suggestion and instruction. I'm sure you can read the PPT now. Okay, jadi Miss yakin PPT-nya udah bisa dilihat sekarang. Now, suggestion, it means saran. Instruction means arahan atau perintah. Suggestion and instruction. How do we make a suggestion? Gimana sih caranya membuat saran dalam bahasa Inggris? Well, let's take a look to some of these phrases. Mari kita lihat beberapa cara untuk membuat saran atau nasihat ini. Okay, so you can pay attention on your screen. Perhatikan layarnya. The first we have, what do you suggest? What do you suggest? Apa yang kamu sarankan? What do you suggest? Next, you can also say, what do you advise me to do? What do you advise me to do? So suggest sama advice, it has the same meaning. Menyarankan. What do you advise me to do? Apa saranmu untuk saya? Next, you can also say, what should I do? What should I do? Okay, so this one is the easiest one and the most common one. Jadi yang ini, what should I do adalah yang paling gampang dan paling sering dipakai. What should I do? Apa yang harus aku lakukan? Next one, we have what I ought to do. What I ought to do. Apa yang harus aku lakukan? So, ought to itu berarti harus. It's same as must. Selanjutnya, we have what's your advice? What's your advice? Apa saranmu? Next, we have if you were me, what would you do? If you were me, what would you do? If you were me, it means kalau kamu adalah aku, kalau kamu jadi aku, what would you do? Kamu bakal ngapain? Okay, so there is some ways to ask for suggestion. Jadi itu beberapa cara buat nanyain suggestion, meminta saran. Now, how do we make a suggestion? Gimana caranya membuat saran? So, you can also see it on your screen. There are some expression that you can use. Ada beberapa ekspresi yang bisa kalian gunakan. The first one, we have, it might be a good idea to visit the doctor. It might be a good idea to visit the doctor. Mungkin akan jadi ide yang bagus kalau kamu pergi ke dokter. It might be a good idea to visit the doctor. So, berarti mungkin keadaan orang yang memerlukan saran ini sedang sakit. Makanya diberikan saran seperti itu. It might be a good idea to visit the doctor. Next one, you can say, you could ask the expert. You could ask the expert. Let's say it with me. You could ask the expert. Kamu bisa bertanya dengan ahlinya. Expert, it means ahli atau pakar. The next one, we have, I suggest that you phone your parents. I suggest that you phone your parents. Let's say it. I suggest that you phone your parents. Aku menyarankan agar kamu menghubungi orang tuamu. The next, we have, I recommend, let's say it. I recommend that you take a vacation. I recommend that you take a vacation. Aku merekomendasikanmu untuk ngambil vacation atau cuti liburan. Next one, you can also say, you really should stop smoking. You really should stop smoking. Okay, jadi the keyword here adalah should. Kata kuncinya di sini adalah should, seharusnya. You really should stop smoking. Kamu benar-benar harus berhenti merokok. The next one, you can also say, you really ought to exercise regularly. You really ought to exercise regularly. Let's try to say it with me. You really ought to exercise regularly. Kamu benar-benar harus rajin olahraga secara rutin. Next. Okay, hold on. Okay, the next one, you can also say, I strongly advise you to eat regularly. I strongly advise. Aku sangat-sangat menyarankan. I strongly advise you to eat regularly. Aku sangat-sangat menyarankanmu untuk makan secara rutin. Okay, so the key word here is advice. Menyarankan. Next, you can also say, I urge, bukan urge, tapi urge. I urge you to study hard. I urge you to study hard. Aku sarankan kamu untuk belajar lebih keras. Next, you can also say, you'd better explain that to your family. You'd better blah blah blah. You'd better explain that to your family. Kamu sebaiknya menjelaskan itu ke keluargamu. So, you'd better. Kamu sebaiknya. Next, why don't you tell me the truth? Why don't you tell me the truth? Why don't you tell me? Kenapa kamu tidak titik-titik? Why don't you tell me the truth? Kenapa kamu tidak memberitahukan kebenarannya pada aku? Next one, how about have a lunch? How about have lunch? Gimana kalau makan siang? Next, you can also give an instruction like, come on, be strong. Come on, be strong. Ayolah, be strong. Yang kuat. Next, you can also give a motivation like, don't give up. Don't give up. Give up artinya menyerah. So, don't give up means jangan menyerah. Next one, you can also say, don't worry. I'm sure you'll do better this time. Don't worry. I'm sure you'll do better this time. Don't worry, jangan khawatir. I'm sure, aku yakin, you'll do better this time. Kamu akan lebih baik kali ini. So, that is some expression that you can use to give advice. So, di sini, beberapa phrase yang bisa kalian ulang-ulang itu adalah why don't you, and then followed by the suggestion, why don't you, kemudian saran kalian, or how about, kemudian saran kalian, atau you'd better, bla bla bla. Kamu sebaiknya, titik-titik. You'd better, and then saran kalian. So that is some phrases that usually we use in giving suggestion. Now let's take a look how to respond to this suggestion. Gimana caranya merespon ke saran-saran ini. So we have two option. Again, kita punya dua pilihan meresponnya. We can accept it or kita decline it. So the first, you can say, that's a good idea. That's a wonderful idea. Let's say it. That's a good idea. That's a wonderful idea. Itu ide yang bagus. Okay. Next one. That's a nice suggestion. That's a nice suggestion. Itu saran yang bagus. That's a nice suggestion. Next, you can say, thank you. I'll try that. Thank you. I'll try that. Terima kasih, aku akan mencobanya. Next one, kita punya, thanks. I'll do it. Thanks. I'll do it. Terima kasih, akan saya lakukan. Next, why didn't I think of it? Why didn't I think of it? Atau of that. Why didn't I think of that? Kok aku nggak kepikiran ke sana ya? And then, I think you're right. I think you're right. Aku rasa kamu benar. Well, those are some way to accept the suggestion. Jadi itu beberapa cara untuk kalian menerima saran dari seseorang. Gimana kalau kalian kurang setuju sama sarannya? You can also decline it. Kalian bisa menolaknya dengan bilang, I tried that, but I can't make it. I tried that, but I can't make it. I tried that. Aku sudah mencobanya, but I can't make it. Tapi aku nggak berhasil. Thanks, but that won't work. Thanks, but that won't work. Terima kasih, tapi aku rasa itu nggak akan bekerja. Thanks, but that won't work. Next, you can also say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Oke, jadi yang ini straightforward, jadi dia direct banget. I don't want to do that. Aku nggak mau melakukan itu. Next, you can say, I can't do that. I can't do that. Aku nggak bisa melakukannya. Next, that's a good idea, but I don't think it'll work for me. That's a good idea. Itu ide yang bagus. But I don't think it'll work for me. Tapi aku nggak merasa itu akan bekerja atau cocok untukku. That's a good idea, but I don't think it'll work for me. So that is some ways for you to decline the suggestion from someone. Jadi itu beberapa cara untuk menolak saran dari seseorang. Now, let's take a look to the instruction. Sekarang mari kita lihat ke beberapa contoh dari giving instruction, memberikan perintah. So biasanya instruction or order akan diakhiri oleh exclamation mark di akhirnya. Akan diakhiri oleh tanda seru di belakang kalimatnya. For example, like open the window. Open the window. Buka jendelanya. Open the window. Let's say it. Open the window. Next, we have submit your assignment next week. Submit your assignment next week. Submit itu berarti mengumpulkan. Submit your assignment next week. Kumpulkan tugas kalian minggu depan. Next, you can also say, write your name on the paper. write your name on the paper. Jadi bukan write, tapi write. The W is silent. W-nya tidak usah dibaca. Write your name on the paper. Tulis namamu di kertas. Next, read this poem clearly. Read this poem clearly. Poem is puisi, jadi poem itu adalah puisi. Read this poem clearly, bacalah puisi ini dengan jelas, clearly. Oke, kalau perlahan dia adalah slowly, bukan clearly ya. Next, we have don't make a noise. Don't make a noise. Jangan berisik. Don't make a noise. Next, try to behave. Try to behave. Oke, yang ini behave itu adalah kelakuan. Try to behave itu artinya lebih ke jaga kelakuanmu. Coba untuk jadi sopan. Try to behave. And the last we have please don't do that. Please don't do that. Tolong jangan lakukan itu. So if you notice here, kalau kalian perhatikan di sini, instruction itu tidak ada subjeknya. Jadi ketika kalian membuat instruksi, you omit the subject from the sentence. Jadi kalian nggak usah gunakan subjek dalam kalimatnya. Just the verb and then the object. Now let's take a look to some example of conversation. Mari kita lihat ke contoh percakapannya. The first one we have the conversation between the mother and father. Ada percakapan antara ibu dan ayah. Okay, so let's read it together. Mari kita baca bareng-bareng. I cannot contact Bella. I cannot contact Bella. Aku tidak bisa menghubungi Bella. It's already 9 o'clock, but she hasn't arrived yet. It's already 9 o'clock. Ini udah jam 9. But she hasn't arrived yet. Tapi dia belum juga sampai. Why don't you contact her friend, Niken? Why don't you contact her friend, Niken? Kenapa kamu nggak hubungi temannya, Niken? I tried that, but Niken cannot be reached either. I tried that, but Niken cannot be reached either. Aku sudah mencobanya, tapi Niken juga nggak bisa dihubungi. Next, well, we'd better wait. Well, we'd better wait. Well, sebaiknya kita menunggu. We'd better wait. Perhaps she's on the way. Perhaps she's on the way. Mungkin dia lagi di jalan. I hope so. I hope so. Aku harap begitu. Or semoga aja. Okay, so in this conversation, there is no asking for suggestion. Jadi di percakapan ini tidak ada meminta saran. But the father is giving suggestion. Tapi bapaknya memberikan saran. The sentence that is used to give suggestion is why don't you contact her friend? Why don't you contact her friend? Kenapa kamu tidak menghubungi temannya, yaitu Niken? So biarpun kalimat ini dalam bentuk pertanyaan, but actually it's giving suggestion, not asking. Kalimat ini sebenarnya memberikan saran, bukan meminta saran. Next. The next suggestion that the father gives is we'd better wait. We'd better wait. Sebaiknya kita menunggu. And then here juga ada declining. Declining suggestion, which is the mother's dialogue, yaitu yang I tried that, but Niken cannot be reached either. I tried that, but blah blah blah. Aku sudah mencobanya, tapi titik-titik. Okay, now let's move to the second conversation. Mari kita masuk ke conversation yang kedua. In the second conversation, there is Bella and John. Ada Bella dan John yang bercakap-cakap. So Bella said, "Are you all right, John? You look annoyed." "Are you all right, John? Apakah kamu baik-baik aja, John?" "You look annoyed." Kamu terlihat annoyed, terganggu. "My laptop doesn't want to log in." My laptop doesn't want to log in. Laptopku nggak mau masuk, login. Try to restart it. Try to restart it. Coba untuk di-restart. Dinyalakan ulang. Thanks, but that won't work because I have tried it many times. Thanks, but that won't work because I've tried it many times. Terima kasih, tapi itu nggak akan bekerja karena aku udah mencobanya berkali-kali. I suggest you to ask our brother to check it. I suggest you to ask our brother to check it. Aku menyarankanmu untuk minta saudara laki-laki kita untuk mengeceknya. He's an expert in computer, right? He's an expert in computer, right? Dia seorang ahli komputer, kan? And then John replied, you are right. Why didn't I think of that? Thank you, Bella. You are right. Ya, kamu benar. Why didn't I think of that? Kok aku nggak kepikiran ke sana ya? Thank you, Bella. Makasih, Bella. Okay, so di percakapan ini, there is also no asking for suggestion. Di sini juga nggak ada meminta saran. But Bella gives John suggestion. Bella memberikan saran ke John. The expression is try to restart it. Try to restart it. Coba untuk nyalakan ulang. Jadi dia langsung give direct suggestion tanpa using any expression. Next, dia juga memberikan saran dengan bilang, I suggest you to ask our brother to check it. I suggest you to bla bla bla. I suggest you itu biasanya udah pasti mengindikasikan bahwa itu adalah saran. Next, John is declining but also accepting the suggestion. Jadi John dia ada menolak dan juga menerima suggestion dari Bella. Yang declining itu adalah thanks, but that won't work because bla bla bla. Thanks, but that won't work. Terima kasih tapi itu nggak akan bekerja because bla bla bla. Karena alasannya. Next, dia juga accept Bella's second suggestion dengan bilang, you are right. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Kok aku nggak kepikiran ya? Okay, well that's the conversation 2. Now let's move to the third conversation. Okay, sekarang kita masuk ke conversation yang ketiga. This is the conversation between Tia and Della. So Tia bilang, my English score is disappointing. My parents must be disappointed. My English score is disappointing. Nilai bahasa Inggrisku disappointing, mengecewakan, jelek. My parents must be disappointed. My parents must be disappointed. Orang tuaku pasti kecewa. I'm sorry to hear that. You'd better practice English. I'm sorry to hear that. You'd better practice English. Aku ikut prihatin. You'd better practice English. Kamu sebaiknya berlatih menggunakan bahasa Inggris. It's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. Oke, jadi dibacanya quite bukan quit. It's quite difficult. Itu agak susah. I cannot understand what the teacher said. I cannot understand what the teacher said. Aku nggak bisa memahami apa yang dibilang sama gurunya. I see. Oke, aku paham. I recommend you to join an English club during this holiday. I recommend you to join an English club during this holiday. Aku menyarankan atau merekomendasikanmu untuk mengikuti klub bahasa Inggris selama liburan. I can't do that. It's kind of luxurious thing. My parents cannot afford it. Let's read it with me. I can't do that. Aku nggak bisa. It's kind of luxurious thing. It's kind of luxurious thing. Itu adalah sesuatu yang mewah. Luxurious thing. My parents cannot afford it. My parents cannot afford it. Afford itu mampu. My parents cannot afford it. Orang tuaku tidak mampu untuk itu. Why don't you try to find a free English club? Why don't you try to find a free English club? Kenapa kamu nggak coba cari English club yang free, yang gratis? Some libraries hold it. Some libraries hold it. Beberapa perpustakaan mengadakannya. And then, that's a nice suggestion. Thank you. You're so helpful. That's a nice suggestion. Itu saran yang bagus. Thank you. Terima kasih. You're so helpful. Kamu sangat membantu. Okay, so in this third conversation, there's also no asking for suggestion. Jadi conversation 3 ini juga nggak ada meminta saran. But Della give suggestion to Tia, tapi Della juga memberi saran ke Tia dengan bilang, you'd better practice English. You'd better itu mengindikasikan bahwa dia akan memberikan saran. And then next, dia juga bilang I recommend you. I recommend. Aku merekomendasikanmu, menyarankanmu, titik-titik. Next, juga di kalimat ketiganya Della. Why don't you try to find a free English club? Why don't you? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so those are two expressions that Della used to give suggestion. And then Tia, di sini dia reject but also accept the suggestion. Dia menolak tapi ada juga yang menerimanya. Yang ditolak itu dengan bilang it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult. Itu agak sulit. And also I cannot do that. I cannot do that. Aku tidak bisa melakukan itu. Dan yang accepting itu adalah that's a nice suggestion. That's a nice suggestion. Itu saran yang bagus. So, in this conversation, di conversation ini, the first sentence, which is in red, ada kalimat dalam warna merah kan? My English score is disappointing. Nilai bahasa Inggrisku mengecewakan. My parents must be disappointed. Oke, di sini ada dua kata yang mirip, yaitu disappointing and also disappointed. Oke, disappointing itu adalah adjective yang berakhiran ing, kata sifat yang berakhiran ing. It means something that makes you feel, sesuatu yang membuat kalian merasa disappointed, disappointing. Jadi dia digunakan untuk mendeskripsikan sesuatu yang membuat perasaan kecewa. And then for disappointed itu juga merupakan kata sifat, tapi dia berakhiran ed. Di sini kata disappointed itu lebih digunakan untuk mendeskripsikan perasaan. Jadi kalian merasa kecewa. I'm disappointed, bukan I'm disappointing. Well, so that is about the third conversation. Jadi itu mengenai percakapan yang ketiga. So with that, our lesson is also finished. Dengan itu, lesson kita hari ini juga udah habis. So we have talked about suggestion and also instruction for today. So if you guys have any question, kalau kalian ada pertanyaan, make sure to take a note. Pastikan udah kalian catat di notebook. Kemudian you can ask it on your offline class. Dan bisa kalian tanyakan langsung ketika kalian punya kelas offline nanti. That's all from me. Thank you so much for joining this live streaming. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Bye!